resonates with the 60th anniversary of the John Mackintosh Hall. So we're going to be talking about stories of the John Mackintosh Hall, and especially about our tales, no, our personal recollections, memories of anything that we've done with theatre, with music, with the famous beauty pageants and everything that we've shared, moments we've shared at the John Mackintosh Hall. The writing workshop is basically the premise is for people to start expressing their llanito tales.
Okay, bueno. And have these been collected anywhere before? Like, are you able to tap into any books or any collection of writings?
Well, the great thing about this llanito writing is that it's all virgin territory. No, it's a new horizon for all of us. So basically, I've been researching other poems, other stories related to other theaters and other cultures, and we're going to try and use that information to start collecting our own llanito John Mackintosh Hall stories.
Okay. And when you sort of start putting pen to paper, I've asked you a similar question before, but you'll forgive me for doing so. For me, llanito is something that comes quite easily in the spoken form, but writing it down, even for me, even like in text messages, sometimes cuesta más trabajo.
Absolutely, yes. It's all like a new enterprise, so we're all learning, we're all investigating, we're exploring, experimenting, and trying different formats. At the moment, what we have is what they call code switching, no? When we turn from one language to the other in the same line or in the same sentence. But what we have to define is what kind of Spanish we use, what kind of English. For me personally, I've realized that the only Spanish that seems realistic is more of an Andalusian form of Castellano, no? Which probably doesn't pronounce the S's and probably resonates a bit with more what we are used to speaking with our family when we were obviously growing up. But it's still early days, so it's an exploration, and we invite everyone to give us their opinions and to have their own takes on it.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it, that it's such an important part of who we are, but that it is very much underrepresented in the written form.
Absolutely, it's not represented at all. No, we have very little literary history of llanito. No? We are starting to recollect the first short stories, the first novels, which usually we have a bit of dialogue in llanito in some of our novels or in our plays. There's a lot of plays, no, which have been probably the plays are always in the forefront of literary exploration. So they have started in theatre with the dialogues in llanito, and now we're trying to expand that to poetry, to prose, and we're all trying to kind of ask ourselves sincerely, does this matter to us? Is it important to us? And does it really have a literary weight or a literary point to it? And I'm finding it more and more clear that it's fundamental for me personally to explore this.
So you've started, I mean, you've said que sí, que it's an exercise and that we're all learning together how to do it. But you are managing. You told me that you've written some 100 llanito sonnets.
Well, I've written 100 llanito sonnets, and I've had more creative energy than any other time in my life. So I'm thankful more than anything. I'm exhilarated at the possibility because it's given me a lot of energy to write. Es una cosa que me ha cambiado la vida, en verdad, porque I find my real voice in literature. I've written 12 books in Spanish and 5 in English, and well, they've been well received. I can't complain. But I think for the first time I'm finding mi voz, ¿no? Where I find completely 100% comfortable.
Claro.
Obviously, it's a very personal thing. Cada uno tiene su manera de entender llanito y lo que significa. For me, I've kind of found my poetical llanito, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but so I suppose the way that I understand art is, please, tell me if you've got a different view, but that you can create something beautiful and in and of itself that could be rewarding for you. But if you create something that you think, is beautiful, but then also finds value in society and hasn't been done before, I mean, presumably
Yes.
that just feeds that idea that this is something that is worth doing.
Absolutely. No, it's exciting to think that 100 sonnets in llanito, if they are published, which I hope they will be at the beginning of next year, that will be the first time ever that we have sonnets in llanito published by a Gibraltarian poet, and hopefully internationally received as well, because I've got interest from some universities, even in Los Angeles, who have these Spanglish kind of courses where they are obsessed with this code switching between Spanish and English, and they have contacted me and are now studying the sonnets. No?
And that's because of Los Angeles's proximity to
Latin America.
To Latin America, and the amount of people who have moved across that border from one continent to the other. No,
it's exciting stuff. I'm only thankful, but I also know that it's the early days. No, we're just starting. See how it goes. See how it's received. I've received a lot of feedback from people, not so much in literary terms, but more in terms of memory. How many of these sonnets have triggered some memories of their childhood or adolescence. For example, I've got poems about the Reclamation, or I've got poems about bars which are now closed or have changed names. And I think even just hearing these words have opened up some memories for some people that have read them. So that is exciting in itself. No?
Are you, when you're looking at sort of themes for your sonnets, is it largely like nostalgia, thinking about your growing up in Gibraltar? And
Absolutely. There's a lot of nostalgia, but there's also a lot of trying to understand what it means not to be Gibraltarian, our Italian roots, our Maltese roots, our English roots, our Spanish roots. What does that mean to us? And trying to question a bit who we are, especially in literature, no? Because in literature we've either had a lot of colonial literature where English people have written about us, or we've had a lot of poets who have tried to imitate English forms, like myself included. But we haven't had a lot of poets and a lot of novelists, which we're having now, like Mark Sanchez or Giordano Durante, who are trying to kind of like take control of the narrative and write Gibraltar with Gibraltarian eyes and with the Gibraltarian language. No?
Claro. So it's an exciting moment then for Gibraltar literature, and in some ways a coming of age in respect of llanito. And let's bring it back then to tomorrow's event. You're starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, quite a long one, talking to people who are interested in this idea of llanito, but in particular focused around the 60th anniversary of the John Mackintosh Hall.
Exactly.
Give people, if somebody's listening and thinking, a lo mejor voy,
sí.
Why should they?
Bueno, yo creo que si una persona tiene en el fondo de su alma un mínimo de interés en contar su historia, ¿no? La historia de su vida o la historia de su familia, or the story of what they're living now, and sometimes people struggle to find the way, no, to tell this story. My job, and it's a very, very difficult one, is to try and instigate different forms of how you can express yourself in literature, through poetry, sometimes through prose, and even through biographical fiction, no? Where you tell your story more like a diary, but obviously you embellish it a bit to make it up. Because also I have to say that this is not only a linguistic project. I don't want to do the sonnets just as a linguistic experiment. I want them to be pleasurable. I want them to be something that people enjoy rather than just like un experimento intelectual. No, we don't want that. Yo no quiero eso. And in the workshop it's the same. We're not taking any steps for intellectual experiments. We're trying to instigate true and real raw expressions of Gibraltarian identity.
Brilliant. Gabriel, before we let you go, apart from the workshop tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the John Mackintosh Hall, you will also be doing 2 shows on Saturday and Sunday, si no me equivoco.
Exacto.
At the Kasbah, which is a venue which I think is quite close to your heart.
Absolutely. No, I've been questioned why I put on so many events at the Kasbah. I just feel an emotional bond as well, because I've done many shows which mean a lot to me there. And the first one was sold out on the Saturday, so we decided to do a second one, which is a matinee show on Sunday at 5 p.m. There's only 6 tickets left, so if anybody wants to come, they are welcome to get those tickets on wegottickets.com. What we were doing is I'm going to be performing some of my songs. Esas canciones están en inglés, but we're also going to be reading some sonnets. Myself, Jonathan Teuma, is going to help me to read some of the sonnets. Naomi Duarte también. And we're going to also be projecting some incredible footage that Daryl Payas has taken of Gibraltar, artistic footage of our place. No?
Beautiful. Bueno, one not to be missed then. The Kasbah on Sunday at 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us. Cultural Award winner Gabriel Moreno talking to us about the importance of the llanito language and capturing it in writing and enjoying it.
Bueno, eso es lo importante, ¿no? Que sea pleasurable al menos.